Please welcome our superhero sponsor, Innovate, with their team of Business Central superheroes, Chad Soji, Ground to Cloud Software Executive, and Kevin Armstrong, Global Enterprise Strategy Leader. Today, they will be saving the day by presenting their session, Real Talk to Real Action. Choose your D365 BC Cloud Adventure. Stick around after for a live Q&A with these real-life heroes.
Hello and welcome to our Dynamics Con session, Real Talk to Real Action. Choose your D365 BC adventure. We appreciate you taking the time today to spend with us, and we have some great information to be able to share with you during this session. My name is Kevin Armstrong. I'm the Global Enterprise Strategy Leader for Innovate. Over 20 years in this industry, I've worked with a number of different companies over that time, and I'm very proud to be a part of this Innovate team. And Chad, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Chad Soji. I am the Ground to Cloud Software Executive for Innovate. I have over 20 years experience in the industry as well, and very happy to share with you our plans and how we can help you move to the cloud today.
That's great. Looking forward to it, Chad. So a little bit about Innovate, and we'll be brief with this because we know you're here today for a real talk conversation. So Innovate was founded in 2014. We have over 400 team members and over 2,000 clients. The compelling thing about Innovate, though, is our why. We transform businesses and the lives that they touch because to us, it's personal. And one of the ways that you see how personal it is by our 5.0 Glassdoor rating. I encourage you to go out onto Glassdoor and read the reviews from our team members who talk about how personal our business is. In the end, we understand that when you're making technology decisions, you have an opportunity to choose which partners you work with. And I can tell you that we take a great deal of pride at Innovate in the work that we do and really taking your outcomes personally. So want to encourage you to go to, as a part of our journey here, to go to innovate.com/adventure. You have an opportunity to win a magnificent home theater setup. If you just come to the website and answer the questions that are there, you have a chance to win. It's open to not only our existing clients, but also visitors. So if we haven't had a relationship with you yet as Innovate, we still welcome you to go to our website, innovate.com/adventure, with a chance to win the home theater setup. So what will you discover today? We're going to go through a basic agenda of what we like to call real talk to real action. We're going to start with life happens. We're going to talk about the new reality, the world that we live in, and how are we impacted. We're going to then talk about your approach. Do I take a stopgap approach, or do I have a strategy that I'm employing? We're going to talk about your cloud journey and how you can harness the power of change. We're going to explore offers and elements that are available to you should you be in a buying process, some that are in market now and some that we at Innovate can offer you. Then we're going to talk about some of our client examples, because if you don't believe us, hopefully you'll believe them and the results that they've seen in their relationship with Innovate. And ultimately, we'll end with a more human approach to ERP in the cloud.
So let's begin with life happens, the new reality. Obviously, this has been a very interesting year for all of us. And the way that we're doing business has changed pretty dramatically over the last few months, to the point where we have many people working remote. We're doing things a little differently. We're rethinking a lot of the business strategies and the way that we can package not only our offerings, but our team members and how we can find that talent. So the real question is, how do we adapt to that new reality? And as George Bernard Shaw would say, the possibilities are numerous once we decide to act and not react. Big sports fan here. I know, Kevin, you are as well. That is the old cliche of what is the best defense? It's an offense. So how do you, as a business owner, as a business user, look forward and drive your organization into action and be proactive in what you decide to set up now for the next year, for the next 2 years, for the next decade of your company.
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. I mean, unprecedented times, right? And they require that we are proactive in our approach to how we make decisions around our business and around our technology. And there's really a couple of different types of approaches. And the two that we see most often employed are a stopgap approach and a strategic approach. There's benefits and there's risks with both. But a stopgap in its essence is a temporary way of dealing with a problem or a challenge. Whereas a strategic approach puts a plan of action around a business challenge that you might have and gives you a much better opportunity to see it come to fruition over the long haul. The risk with a stopgap, very often you hear the term knee-jerk decisions. Boy, this 2020 caused quite a lot of knee-jerk decisions, right? We had to adapt very quickly to a world that we weren't used to. And that caused some inefficiencies. And to be honest with you, some solutions and some technology that got deployed did not produce the same effect that you would have liked to have seen per your investments. But a strategic approach, there are organizations that really do a great job of planning and putting a plan in place and having a partner that you can execute with against that plan. We've seen great results. The people who are choosing to have that plan and execute to it during difficult times are leading the charge. So you have to decide, do I want a stopgap, meaning put something in place that stops an existing condition from happening in the short term, or do I want a long-term approach and take a strategic approach to utilizing technology to overcome our challenges?
And obviously at Innovate, we believe that the latter is the better approach. With a strategic view, certainly we've seen our clients that have thought about this prior to the past 12 months begin to initiate their cloud strategy. But once we have this new reality, or this new normal, as people are calling it, how are we going to drive organization capabilities and profitability as we go forward? With this solution, harnessing the power of change, we have a real opportunity here, and you have a real opportunity to gain next-gen business insights. The core of that is Dynamics 365 Business Central. It's the system that you will use for financial management, project operations, all the things that you would do on the normal business cycle. But what the real advantage is here is not only that cloud-based solution allowing you that anytime, anywhere access, but it's gathering and harnessing the data that is in that system through what is called the Power Platform. And this includes several different areas. The first being business intelligence, in leveraging the business intelligence and building on that for point apps, for workflows, for all the things that will help your organization step forward and in the new world and in the new normal to drive more efficiencies and more opportunities. When we look at this from a cloud journey perspective at Innovate, we really look at a few different areas that begin that dialogue. And the first we already mentioned was cloud solutions. So with workers being able to have access to your solutions on any device, anywhere, and any time, you layer that in then with not just an ERP system, because we all have an ability to capture the data, but the true power of a business solution is what can you harness from that data and what decisions can you drive to improve your operation in your organization. That's where Power BI comes into play. And this unlocks that potential of the data to give you clear visibility, build dashboards, build any reports that you want that allows you to see what's happening in your organization and move on to the next phase of the Power Platform, which says, there's a very specific need we have in the warehouse, for example, for someone to go out and do a stock count on a mobile device. Just build a Power App for that. No longer do you need the full customization, the full long-range investment on a customization project. You can do a point app for a Power Platform app and then tie that into workflow so that it triggers off different events depending on what happens. But from there, Kevin, we're not just talking about the high level. We go into the next areas and we go a little bit deeper into advanced distribution and some of the industry solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chad, I love what you just said there about Power Apps. I mean, low code, no code solutions rather than embracing some large long-term development project. That's the exciting direction of the Power Platform. But what is our job as you're on this journey? What does Innovate bring to the table? Well, we provide you with offerings and solutions that are built on these platforms to be able to give you meaningful use of the technology. So whether that be around advanced distribution capabilities to extend the way the technology serves you within your supply chain, or whether that be project management and equipment management capabilities that we've extended for our builder solution for the construction industry, or even in the wine industry around VinPoint and how do we serve the needs of a vineyard around this technology. Those are offerings that Innovate can build and give you the meaningful use of the technology. And man, it's one of the most enjoyable elements of what we do is impacting your business by creating impactful solutions around these technology platforms.
It's a great point, Kevin. And when we talk about the cloud, we talk about these industry solutions, there is a whole other benefit to you from the data protection side of the business and the security protocols that go through in order to have a cloud service. It's incredibly secure. It's compliant. There is real uptime, 99.9% uptime. And it provides that business continuity with repetitive servers and data centers and your code that can be put across a couple of different data centers. No longer do you have to worry about that old server in the back room that only one person knows about and knows how to fix. And do you have enough parts on hand to take care of that? The cloud removes that worry for you and allows you to create that distributed workforce. I think that's one of the things that we're hearing the most from our clients as they start to move into this and have that capability to rethink how they do their work. You're no longer limited geographically in the talent pool. And that's obviously a major concern for a lot of industries is how do I find the best talent available, even if they don't want to move to the geographic place I am? Well, with the cloud and with the solutions that we're augmenting here and talking about, you can hire the best person for the job and let them work in an environment that they want to work in so that you can really improve your business efficiencies.
Yeah, Chad, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, think about what 2020 did to us as it relates to our business model. Many of us in many industries were used to getting up and going into an office during the day and being tethered to a desk. And, you had your, you were sure that you had the internet and you were sure that you had everything you needed. But more and more, everything is being done via these mobile devices and tablets and our laptops while sitting in our home offices. Awful lot of businesses were not ready for that. And configuring your infrastructure to be able to meet the demands of that distributed workforce proved to be very challenging for a lot of organizations. So again, I would say that the value that we can bring to you in that regard is the strategy and the planning and how do you wield this technology and optimize the cloud for today's environment. So let's talk a little bit, Chad, about if I'm going down this path, and it used to be if I'm going to the cloud. We know we're going to the cloud, right? So now it's when, and we know that over time we're going to have to migrate from the legacy environment that we're on into a new environment. So we're talking about D365 Business Central today, and what are some of the offers and solutions and benefits that you have that you should be evaluating when you're in the market for it? So probably the most fulfilling part of helping an organization make their decision is when you're doing that exploratory phase. I would definitely encourage you to engage with us, engage with our team at Innovate to reserve a free whiteboarding session. I will say that at the bottom of the screen, it says, there is an address there that you can go to that'll allow you to reserve a session with our team. It's innovate.com/free-whiteboard-session. At Innovate, we challenge, we collaborate, we listen. We do all of those things to help you achieve your outcomes. You can get personalized advice from our cloud teams and our teams to help you make these decisions and move forward. Once you've done that, then you have to take a look at the licensing options. Chad, you want to share about that?
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. So there are a number of great offers here that you can take advantage of to begin this cloud journey. The first is your CSP Enhancement Plan renewal offer. For any existing Dynamics customer, whether you're on GP, NAV, or SL, Microsoft is offering you a 60% discount to get moved to your CSP offering. And that takes your one-time lump sum, spreads it out, and makes it a monthly payment offering. So you also get 1 to 4 conversions from the concurrent to the named users. It's a great way for you to realize the benefits, have a cost reduction, and get started. Now, if you're not in that window of your enhancement plan, because it is due at the time that your enhancement plan, that decision is, there are other offers that allow you to make that move at any point in time and get a reduced fee because of your loyalty and your ongoing work with Microsoft. So you're certainly going to want to take advantage of that and take a look at that.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Chad, that and then I'll explain further even how we can help with that. But one thing I would say is, don't underestimate the value of the investment you've already made. You've got a footprint of Microsoft technology, and Microsoft wants to help you extend that relationship with them well on into the future. They're quite simply the best in the world at creating technology that can impact our business. So use that investment you've already got, transition it, and find a way to get some value from that. So with Innovate, how can we make those offers even better? You've got licensing options, and then when you come to us, we've got the ability to provide you with that concierge service, have our consultants work with you to help you make the most of a trial migration process. Perhaps you have a sandbox in the cloud that we administer for you. One thing I don't think people do enough, Chad, is when you're planning for an implementation, let's call it, or a migration, maybe 12 months down the road or 18 months down the road, and you've got your eyes on that, wouldn't it make sense to get into an environment long before that and do some work within that environment to see how reports are going to run, to use it, to feel it, to know what that user experience is going to be like, and to be planning well ahead of time? That's something we can provide you, that concierge level experience. We can also give you an assessment of your current environment, your legacy environment, your GP installation, the technology that surrounds that, all of the servers that are in play to support that environment. We can give you that trial migration into that sandbox environment and give you your own data in a place that you can help us to make better decisions around how we implement for you. And ultimately, and this is very important, all companies in our space that you can partner with are good at certain things. What I think Innovate is the best at is evaluating, migrating, and then long-term supporting that environment for companies that are choosing to migrate from a legacy platform into the cloud. That long-term support, that client care, that long-term relationship that we have with our clients, our over 2,000 clients, that's what we're the best at.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, Kevin. And you talk about the sandbox environment and doing that assessment to move into and migrate into the sandbox environment so you can try this out. We have spent a lot of time making that really easy. That doesn't need to be a complicated process. It doesn't need to be one that is nerve-wracking for you as an organization. We've built a readiness assessment with Innovate that works for GP, SL, and NAV. It's quite simple. 10 simple questions begin that journey for you. And then what we do is we have a lightweight tool that, with your ability to run that tool, gives us a snapshot of your environment so we can determine what would it cost and look like from a time perspective for you to make the move from an on-premise solution to Dynamics 365 Business Central. When we have that information, we can look at the ISVs you're using. We can look at the reports you're using. We can look at those different things from a perspective of helping you and creating that journey to say, okay, here's what it would take. Leveraging those package solutions that you heard Kevin talk about before for particular industries. Simplifying because we've recruited and worked with your existing ISVs and they are available on Business Central. All of that reduces the risks and helps identify and create remediations that allow us to easily figure out a way to get you migrated to the cloud.
Yeah, absolutely. The other element when you're talking about migrating, Chad, is almost every legacy environment has enhancements to their environment that they've utilized. More commonly talked about as ISVs, and we've got some amazing partners out there in the ecosystem who have really helped to fill in the cracks within the solution. And when you're making that migration happen, one of the things that has to happen is you have to evaluate, do you need that additional solution as you migrate into the new world, whether that be Business Central or F&O or wherever you're migrating. Do I need that, or has the solution caught up to it? But the ISV, the amazing enhancement partners that we have out there, we work with them for readiness and to be ready for that migration. One interesting element about the ISV community, Chad, that I don't know a lot of people know about is when you've developed a solution for this platform and then you see it move from the legacy GPSL nav into the D365 world, if you're an ISV, you have to be ready for the cloud. And interestingly, and not a lot of people know this, but a lot of those partners come to us and work with us from a development perspective around readiness. So we are working with that community of ISV partners who enhance your solution. And we work with them to make sure their solutions are ready. And we work with them to make sure that when you're ready to migrate, that we're there for you, providing you with a strong partnership to deliver on your desired outcomes with those enhancements.
It's a great point. Great point. Now, where does Innovate set ourselves apart? Certainly, we talked about the ISVs. We talked about the assessments. We talked about the different work that we do, not only with you as a client, but with all of the other applications that we utilize and the platform that we would put you on. The key to us is that this is a big investment, or can be a big investment, right? This is a strategic change for your organization and one that is going to allow you to move into the next phase of your business. We have a unique offering here where we can reduce and actually eliminate the upfront migration costs and include that in a monthly subscription fee, along with your licensing, along with your support. So it's a fixed term, known quantity, and it is easy for companies to make that decision and digest that information. We can also do this in a 100% remote implementation methodology. We're doing this today. We've done this with a lot of clients. We can do a lot of the discovery, the creation, the migration, set you up, put you in that sandbox, and move you into a production environment when the time is right. But the key to a lot of that is we work with you. We're hand in hand in that process. We do that through shared collaboration. We create sites that allow us to communicate with you continuously or schedule any sort of meetings that we have so that you're part of the decision-making processes and you know what is the status of my journey at any point in time. That's our innovative approach to Dynamics migrations.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chad, and I'd like to stay on that topic for a moment before we move on to the next. There's a book called The Membership Economy by an author by the name of Robbie Kelman Baxter that I think is very interesting because it's about how we as consumers interact with the companies that we buy from. And it's interesting in technology because, as you know, having been in the delivery space as long as we have together, we're traditionally in a waterfall ecosystem, right? We deliver things in a linear fashion. But not only has technology evolved, but our buying habits have evolved. And I don't know about you, but when I'm sitting on the couch and I'm looking I want to watch The Mandalorian, I don't mind clicking the button to add for $4.99 a month, Disney Plus, so I can watch The Mandalorian. I have all of these subscriptions and I subscribe on a monthly basis. Would I have necessarily paid $70 a year or whatever the fee was? Maybe not, but I am willing to pay the $4.99, $5.99, $7.99 a month. It's interesting how that has made its way into technology. And one of the hurdles has always been, how do I break this down into a manageable bite? How do I do that from a delivery perspective, a license perspective, from a support perspective? Innovate is leading the charge on that and breaking it down to a subscription model across all of it, not just the license, the service, the support. We're meeting you where your buying habits tend to be.
Great point. Great point.
So 2 quick topics here, and then we'll move towards rounding out our message. Often when I talk to a CFO, and if I bring up the topic of financing, they say, nope, we're good. We don't finance. We don't take on financing. We're profitable. We manage our business. We don't need it. Here's what I will tell you. Access to capital is very, very attractive right now. Cash is always king. I'm seeing an awful lot of intelligent CFOs and CEOs who are taking advantage of relatively inexpensive capital. And instead of putting my cash flow out and spending the money to do an initiative, and more often than not doing a smaller initiative than I could have done because I want to keep my cash in play, I'm seeing business leaders who are tackling multi-years of strategy, financing it all now, software, hardware, services, whatever they need, and putting a long-term plan in place and leveraging low-cost financing to spread that out into monthly payments. You may not do that in your business in the past. I would encourage you to take a look at that option in the future. And then the other additional element, which is our next topic, is take a look at the opportunities. Next slide, Chad, that you have out in the marketplace from a tax benefits perspective. Okay. I don't know how many people that I talk to are not aware about the fact that there is a Section 179 IRS code benefit that will allow you to write off up to $1 million in some cases, some cases a little bit more, of your investment around technology, hardware, software, services, all these different elements that you are in the marketplace to buy. Most companies that we talk to are aware of it and have leveraged part of it, but not all of it. We would encourage you. Innovate doesn't provide this to you. All we can do is provide you with the thought leadership to talk to your accountants and maximize your tax benefits. If you think about the last two data points, the financing and the tax benefits, as a matter of fact, we had a client just the other day who was going to do 1 year small implementation of just financials only. Instead, they coupled their FY21 tax benefits with a financing plan and did a 3-year plan and are executing on that because they were able to spread it out into monthly payments. They're not putting out any more cash flow in this year than they were planning to, and they're able to accomplish even more of their goals. I would very much want you to take a look at that.
And I think that leads directly in, Kevin, that the time is now. We're in unprecedented times, of course, but you talked about the IRS benefits, you talked about the financing, and we talked about the ways that you can extend and empower and create a workforce and an organization that will meet needs like you've never been able to before. So with Microsoft offering these latest help in modernizing your solutions in a pocket-friendly way. So we're saying this isn't a case of, if you're going to move to the cloud, it's when. And we believe that it is inevitable. And we believe that today is the time to get started and reap the benefits of that move.
Yeah, I mean, the concept is pretty simple, Chad. What I tell people is difficult times cause you to rethink things. And I believe there's an awful lot of pent-up demand in the marketplace by people who have been, maybe they had a entrenched last March and April when the pandemic was hitting, and they wanted to really take a good look at how they were going to be spending their money, where the economy was going to go. But the time is now. Don't stand on the sidelines. Jump into the game. Help yourself by making a plan and executing on it. And it may mean a migration. It may mean taking a deeper look at Power BI and what analytics can do for your organization. It may mean that you take a legacy on-premise environment and put it into a virtual cloud. There's a lot of things that can happen, but for sure, don't stay on the sidelines. Jump into the game. So what are my options? I mean, let's start with cloud-based ERP, right? Start with moving from an on-premise environment where you had to maintain that infrastructure and make sure you had the infrastructure to support it, right? It's more than just moving from one to the other. You have to have a strategy. You have to have a healthy approach to getting there. You have to have a partner who can help take you from one to the other. I mentioned earlier, Chad, that this is a particular strength of Innovate. We're good at taking a look and analyzing your legacy on-premise environment and getting you into that cloud, that evergreen environment that you're never going to have to do those upgrades like you have in the past. You're never going to have to plan every couple of years to make sure you're doing a full-on update of that code because it's in the cloud. It's being updated. You should be looking at doing a sandbox, right? You should be looking at taking a look at how you can train yourself and take an active role in your own success. I am a big believer in limited scope, phased implementations. You can't eat the elephant in one bite. We've always heard these euphemisms, these phrases. And what it means in terms of technology is don't feel the weight of this massive ERP implementation. If you can get to finance and get that settled and stable, and then move into the supply chain, do that. You can always add on to the functionality. But I would absolutely encourage you to take a phased approach if it warrants for your business. And from a private cloud or Azure cloud perspective, different industries are going to have different elements. There are some that are averse to being in a public cloud, which is why we have this extended capability around our private cloud capabilities and our ability to help you through a hybrid cloud experience where some is in Azure and some of it is on premise and some of it is in a private cloud. We can help you with that. And then taking that information and making it available in a virtual desktop world where you've got a remote workforce and have to maintain that. These are all things that we're experts in, and especially disaster recovery. The last time I went in and asked an executive, when was your most recent backup? The answer was 3 years. That should worry you, because more often than not, we think we're good. Chad, you mentioned earlier that server that's in the hallway down, in the closet down the hallway, and we think, oh, well, I see the tapes there. I'm sure they're doing the backups. More often they're not. And when challenges hit, you want to know that you can keep that business continuity and that you can be up and running immediately.
And Kevin, you mentioned we can't eat the elephant all in one bite. And I think going back to that, you also mentioned building the system out and looking at your customizations, because so much has been added to the recent solutions that are available. I would like to echo that again. When you look at this and you even look at the limited scope, it's thinking about building that product and that solution and that business offering for yourself, not just as the core of Business Central and not just as Business Central plus customizations, but there are over 1,000 products available in a store called AppSource. Just like on your phone, you can add a unique product that enhances or meets a certain business need you have. So you don't need to always think about a full customization project as you even build that out from a limited scope to a full scope. Look at the offerings that are available. Find ways that are easier for your organization to take what's there, what's being professionally developed, what's being professionally updated, and what has security and all the proper support behind it, and build it that way through that ecosystem that is available to you.
Absolutely. So ultimately, I think our message to you today is understand what you believe your hurdles to be. If it's timing, if it's you can't manage the business disruption, if it's cash flow, if it's that you would rather remain in an on-premise environment, if it's you don't have the expertise in-house. Understand what all of those things are, what all of those hurdles. Understand what your own tendencies are and where your hurdles have been in terms of moving to the cloud. The reality is we have drastically removed some of those or reduced the amount of time that it takes you to go from that legacy on-premise environment into the cloud. Innovate has worked with Microsoft to design the tools and the migration approach to be able to get you there faster. We've removed the fear of an unplanned migration by, if you would engage with us, we can remove that at least by giving you those assessments and the long-term relationship, the client care and the support and the migration tools and rapid deployment methodologies that we've built. We can ensure that we meet your price parameters by working with you on not only the licensing offers that are in the marketplace, but also templated approaches that can speed up the time to payback. And work with you on your cash flow and your spend over a period of time. We can work with you to look at the dual use capabilities so that you can maintain that legacy environment. And folks, many people who are implementing are going to need to be on their legacy environment for some time during that implementation, and many years beyond. They want to keep it as a historical database. We can manage that in Azure, in the cloud, and give you that performance so that you can go back and look at that data over time. In the end, the bottom line is the hurdles that you may have experienced in the past and go into the cloud, your lack of trust maybe in the technology or in the speed to market, we can remove those for you, and we would like to partner with you to be able to do that. So if you don't believe us and some of what Chad and I have talked about, Chad, how about we give them a couple of brief client examples and what they've experienced in this process?
I think that's a great idea. And we've broken these down by industry. These aren't the only industries we represent, but here are a few clear stories of success that our clients have had by making the move to Business Central. The first is in the retail industry. We were working with a client that had full service retail merchandising and marketing support. They were coming from two different companies who were using their own solutions. Both happened to be Dynamics. One was using NAV, one was using SL. And of course, they desired that efficiency through one ecosystem. But what added to the challenge here is they weren't thinking about just today, but they are thinking about their future and saying, we're going to continue to grow as an organization organically and through acquisition. So we want a consolidated cloud platform, which is what Business Central provided them, which was easy to onboard their existing users because we had the migration available. The users were up and running very, very quickly, but it allowed for adding additional users, but additional organizations, additional companies as they go through this acquisition phase. We can easily plug in and continue to build out because of the scalability of Business Central, because of the flexibility, and because of the ease of use and ease of onboarding to Business Central. Through that long-term relationship with Innovate, we've been able to get this customer up and running, and they are now looking at some of the acquisitions that are possible and starting to plan for the next phase of their business.
Absolutely. And another example, in terms of a move to D365 and risk avoidance, there is a very large brand name that people know in manufacturing and distribution space, and they had engaged in a multi-year process of migrating to Business Central. They were an early adopter of Business Central, and multiple years into that process, they were working with this other partner, and they were challenged to be successful. They had go lives coming up. There's over 80 sites that they're going to need to roll out Business Central to in 2021 and beyond. They called on us and they said, hey, Innovate, we'd like for you to work with us. We feel like we're not being successful with this BC implementation. We're bogged down in the process. And what we were able to do with Innovate, we were able to work with our client and help them understand that one of the real gaps was project management on their own end. It's a large, complex company. And we were able to put a process in place that helped them to get their arms around their side of the equation. We were also able to work with the other partner, because in our world, sometimes it's better for partners to work together to accomplish their clients' goals. We were able to do that and bring our capabilities and the other partners' capabilities to the table. And this large multinational company is now on path for implementing BC with our team embedded on the client side and another partner working on the implementation and go live. And it was going down the wrong path, but it is now on path for the initial rollouts in April of 2021. And we're looking forward to having a long-term relationship with this, both with the client and the other partner, for many years into the future. And the last one is an example of a company that was looking to migrate from GP to BC. They had a lack of reporting, a lack of budgeting, a lack of forecasting. They were coming towards non-compliance in their environment, but they were concerned. They were concerned about the business disruption and what it was going to take to get them there. In the end, what we did was we put them into we transitioned them into, with the CSP, into the Business Central licensing. We gave them a 30-day trial and 15 users in a sandbox, and we worked with them to get their hands on it and feel it and work out their business concerns in that environment. In the end, they gained quite a bit of faith. They felt very comfortable about moving forward, and they built trust with us and our team because we gave them the opportunity to try before they bought and before they did that big migration. In the end, it was a good way for them to do it.
So what you hear in this dialogue is a more human ERP and cloud experience. This is the real talk to real action with Innovate. What you see here is that you need a partner, not a VAR. And that's where Innovate experience really comes into play. We offer strategic partnerships that help you drive your organizational strategy as you move forward into this new normal and this new way of doing business, as we've demonstrated in the last few slides.
Yeah, Chad, and I'll talk about this again in a moment, but what you were just mentioning, in the end, folks, the reality of it is you have choices. We know that. We don't want to just be another VAR that's out there in the channel. We want to truly partner with you. Remember what our why is. Okay, our why is that we transform businesses and the lives they touch because to us, it's personal. So we want to go on that journey with you. Okay, and just to remind you all, to go to innovate.com/adventure to take part and win this fabulous home theater package. I've got a room set up out front here in my house. If you want to bring it over here and set it up, I'll make the popcorn. We'd be happy to enjoy that with you. Follow the hints, answer the 5 questions. And please, if you have an opportunity, put some questions into the chat box so that we can answer those for you. We've had a great time having this dialogue with you. This is how to contact us. We've got our contact information up here. Again, my name is Kevin Armstrong. We've got Chad here. We've got an entire 400 plus team members at Innovate who would love to have this dialogue with you. We know 2020 was a difficult year. We know that in 2021, you're looking to get back on track, make decisions, and implement technology that can really help you stay at the front of your business. We would love to engage with you, help you with those decisions, and help you, especially towards a migration from a legacy platform into Dynamics 365 Business Central. Well, thank you all for having this great dialogue today and for all of your questions, and I'm sure you'll have more as you go. Please don't hesitate to visit our virtual booth here at DynamicsCon and reach out to us in any way that we can to help you on your journey. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, everyone.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chad Sogi. Thank you for watching that presentation. Unfortunately, Kevin wasn't able to join us today for this live Q&A portion of the event, but I will be happy to take some of the questions and do what I can to provide you the answers as we go forward. A little bit about myself. Some of you online I know, and I've seen some of the comments, so it's great to see you again. I have joined Innovate not so long ago, December 1st, after a little over 20 years at Microsoft. And at my time at Microsoft, I worked in the R&D group, working directly on the SMB products, including GP, NAV, SL, and of course, Business Central. So I have that experience, and now I've had the pleasure of working on this side of the world as a VAR and ISV with Innovate. And as you can see, some of the great things we're doing around the migrations and assessments and bringing clients to the cloud. So with that, I am going to look back over here to some of the questions that have already been asked. Encourage you to ask them as we go along, and I'll do my best to answer them. The first question that came through was from Sarah, and the question was, when I move to CSP, when should we run the cloud assessment? What if we believe our organization is 1 to 2 years away from moving? It's a great question, Sarah. As you saw in this presentation, Microsoft has a very compelling offer for existing on-premise customers that can choose at the time of rep renewal to move into a subscription model through CSP. And this is the really big first step in moving to the cloud. You get the cloud subscription, you have the rights to the on-prem, but you're in that model of having both solutions. Now, I would encourage you, though, not to stop there. So the question was, what if we don't think we're ready for a year or two? When should we do the cloud assessment? Well, first, the cloud assessment is free. So why hesitate and why not do it now? Free is good, I hear. But in all honesty, what the cloud assessment will do is it will give your organization a very clear roadmap of what does your journey look like to move from the on-premise solution to Business Central in terms of scope of the event, in terms of timeline for the event, and perhaps even what can you do, and more importantly, I guess, what can you do in terms of the value that you realize. So a lot of the times when folks are looking at or talking about the migration event or the upgrade event, it's technical in nature, and we get into that technical dialogue. But when you look at the business value and the opportunities that Business Central presents, when you combine Business Central with all of the apps that are available in AppSource, with the platform that Microsoft has for Power Platform, the business benefits are just astronomical. You can really, really change the way that your organization does work today and carry you forward in the future. So doing that assessment now certainly gives you an idea of what the cost will be and the timeline will be to make the move, but it also starts to help you look at the benefits of making that move. And with a subscription model that Kevin and I talked about before for that service, it may open up the dialogue to a more rapid move for your organization because you don't have that upfront cost. It can be spread out over a 3-year commitment of time. And so we'd encourage you to look right away and to look at that as an opportunity so that A, you know what you're up against, you know what the benefits will be as you make the move, and you know what, and you can plan for it as you go down the line. The second question is from Deb. Compliance and regulations is getting more strict for us. Is Business Central positioned to help with the new compliance needs for distributors and manufacturers? So this one, I will say yes, it is certainly positioned to help you with those requirements, and particularly on the compliance needs. This is an area where no software or solution will say that they are perfectly compliant, will make you compliant, but we provide the tools to help you be compliant with the different things that you need to do. So those of you that might be on GP or an older version of NAV, this may not be in your solution set to become compliant here. This is where Business Central, with the rapid release cadence and the ability to have those releases once a month, with major versions every 6 months, really brings that forward and brings your ability to make that decision, make that compliant happen much more quickly. We have another question. This one is from Jim. The pandemic has challenged the way we do business. Absolutely. Specifically around the supply chain. How can Dynamics 365 Business Central help our company manage the way the supply chain has to work in our new world? This one's a fun question, not in the terms of the pandemic, of course, but in the way that it has altered how each of you does business today, and more than likely altered forever what you're going to do when we get to a new normal situation for business. First of all, what we've seen most commonly is it opens up the opportunity for you to hire. And when we say that, you're not as geographically bound for some of the roles. Now, when you have a warehouse, of course, you're geographically bound to have people at the warehouse. But when you think of the salespeople, when you think of the marketing folks, when you think of the strategists, now you've opened up your opportunity to have people across the United States, across the world if you want, and really look for the talent that is best for your business in that area. When it comes to having a solution that is built in the cloud and works well in the cloud, you have all kinds of opportunities then to use the Power Platform. And we talked a little bit about that before, but with Power Platform, it's a toolkit of solutions, first being business intelligence, which is super powerful, obviously, for your supply chain needs. But Power Apps is one that I don't think gets quite enough notice yet for our clients. With Power Apps, you can build point solutions for very specific tasks without having to go through a full customization or a full development cycle in order to build it. A good example of that could be a stock counting app. If you simply want your workers to be able to go out into the warehouse and do a stock count on their mobile device, build it as a Power App. There you can get live data from Business Central. You can go out and you can create a scan of the barcode, you can enter the quantity, and that will feed back into Business Central real time. You didn't need a developer to build that. You can do that with a power user. It's made for those kinds of solutions. So it really opens up the possibilities of doing things in a very crisp manner, in a very quick manner, and help your organization move forward in this new era. Greg is asking, how do you feel about running Business Central using virtual machines in Azure? You heard us talk about the cloud journey for clients, and at Innovate, we do offer multiple steps to that. Of course, you can move completely to Business Central hosted by Microsoft. That's what we feel is one of the strongest solutions, one of the strongest environments for you to take on. We also have a full cloud hosting infrastructure where we can take your existing on-prem solution and host it in our data center or on Azure so that you have the next move with virtual machines. We have a lot of clients doing work that way, particularly if you're wanting to stay on Dynamics GP, if you're wanting to stay on an older version of Dynamics NAV. We can move you into that. We can use virtual machines. There are advantages, there are disadvantages. But it is a possibility and certainly something that Innovate has the experience to do. And we could walk through with your cloud journey if that is an interest of you. Darlene is asking, what is needed to secure a restorable backup for Business Central? What is the best practice? This one is an interesting question. So a restorable backup, we do have point in time. Microsoft offers point in time restores for Business Central. And you can go back then and you can, through a service, you do have to put a service request in order to get that backup restored. But you can go back and to a certain point, I can't remember how far back it's held, but there is that capability to do it. The best practice is these are already backed up kind of continuously as a service. So that would be something to speak with your partner about, and we can get more information from the technical folks that run that and work with that with Business Central. Benny, I would echo that comment. VMs in Azure equals expensive. Yeah, it is not as low cost, obviously, as moving to Business Central in a SaaS hosted solution without VMs. But it is a possibility for those that do require or want that capability. Jim is asking, I hear the words Microsoft Stack all the time, but I don't fully understand the business value to my clients. Can you provide a couple of scenarios that help me understand why my team will find value in the stack? It's a very good question. And again, being in R&D, I like to use that lingo. I like to talk about all the technology that underpins it, but what is the real scenario there? And why does Business Central stand ahead of a lot of the competitors in the industry when it comes to leveraging what Microsoft is calling the stack? So from a simplicity standpoint, when I talk about the stack, I talk about Azure as the hosting infrastructure that Business Central is hosted on as a service. Then you have Business Central, which is the application running all of the financials, manufacturing, service management, whatever have you. And then we have add-ons. We have Office 365 that works in conjunction with Business Central. We have Power Platform that can work in conjunction with Business Central. Why does this become important? It becomes important because all of these work very seamlessly together. So it provides you as a client the opportunity to look at your business processes and either tailor things to your existing business process or look at the best practices that these tool sets light up and provide for you. A couple of really strong examples of this. I'm going to start with Power Platform. Power BI is absolutely phenomenal. So you can create and embed Power BI directly in Business Central. You can pull not only from Business Central to get your reports and your dashboards and your views, but you can also pull in data from your CE application. You can pull it in from the data lake. You can pull it in from any data source that you want to create that dashboard that then you render directly inside of Business Central, if that's where the user needs to see it, or you have all of that Business Central data available to executives that you can simply have a site for them to create or to look at their Power BI. It's auto-refreshed. It gives them the data they need to analyze the business, to make the right decisions, and to drive it forward. I talked a little bit already about Power Apps and some of the great advantages you can do with point solutions. One of the case studies Microsoft did a little while ago was a roofing company out of Florida that built a Power App for when they are on site and they accidentally damage something. I think the case that they showed was a mailbox. Back over a mailbox, needed to replace the mailbox. Here you can take, they simply built an app that take a picture of the damage to the mailbox, put a descriptor on it, and submit it back in as a payables report so that the client gets paid for that mailbox that they need replaced. Those are a couple of point solutions that the stack enables. And then thirdly on that is the Power Automate, so the workflow solution. Now you have the ability to make all kinds of business rules depending on whether it's Business Central information that you want to act upon, or it's Business Central in combination with another solution, whether it be CE, whether it be some of the CDS, any data that's factoring in there to drive a decision point. Now you can use an Automate and have rules, workflow rules, to route it to different people in the organization. Once things are approved, create automatic actions to release a purchase order, release a sales order, the quote, whatever it is. Those are some of the things that we talk when we talk stack, is to reimagine and re-envision what it does for you, for your business scenarios, in order to make life that much easier for each of your team members as they're doing their work. Come back here. Sarah has a question on the production has to be flexible, agile, and configurable. Will this Dynamics 365 journey give us the tools to help with that? It's a good question, Sarah. I think we've talked a little bit about what the platform itself does and how the stack enables that. But even within Business Central itself, what you have is a very strong application that can be tuned to your needs. So you start with the application, you take all the settings, and some of them are set by default, others you just personalize to your environment. You can actually personalize screens right within Business Central to make them look and feel and act like you want them to act. And all of these are coupled up not as code customization, but rather as what we call extensions. And the reason that we do that is that then when the monthly update comes out, when the feature pack every 6 months comes out, you have an isolated extension that won't break. It's using the contracts from Business Central. So you can then take and personalize this, make it very flexible, make it very agile, but keep it up and running. There isn't this downtime. There isn't this concern of the next release might break me. That contract with that personalization you did is in store. The same is true for the apps that are in app source, because they're using that same extension technology, that same framework. They're calling in contracts in Business Central. So anytime Business Central is updated, those apps work. Will there be once in a while where they don't? Certainly, and that's why all the ISVs get early drops. They have the ability to do this in a sandbox. They can take and add information and look at their application well before the version comes out, so that we know as your partner and in this journey that you're ready to go, you're up and running, and you're not going to be facing any troubles. With that, we're quite close to time, so I do want to thank you all for your time. Thanks for your interest in Innovate, the great questions we had on Business Central here. I encourage you to reach out to us directly with any other questions you have. Kevin had shared that information with our contact. And enjoy the rest of your Dynamics Con conference. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.